The first K-pop thought is that, I talk about unpopular K-pop opinions too many times at this point. But I will continue talking about them because I get new thoughts all the time. But in my previous K-pop thoughts video, I talked about K-tubers' K-pop shorts not being cut out for commentary and opinions and that they should just stick to making fun videos, not commentary and opinions based. With which I'll continue thoughts to that and say I agree more to it, because I've seen K-tubers' K-pop shorts who can't even make a proper opinion in terms of expressing what they have to say in an understandable way, because I see some opinions and it makes no sense or they just say a short explanation that doesn't really give any context to the why part of their opinion. For me nowadays, whenever I have a K-pop thought I ask ChatGPT to see if my thoughts make sense. Because despite the fact that I could have grammatical errors or something of that sort, it doesn't matter to me as long as I know my thoughts make sense, because I want to know that thought I'm sharing is actually making a point or not. Plus, I also try to keep my thoughts original to what I say, and so I ask ChatGPT to check if my point makes sense despite the grammar and clarity errors, since I want to keep my thoughts and not changed by AI. But with some K-tubers' K-pop shorts channels, they don't make sense in what they're trying to say or they don't explain things fully. I will give a pass to people who don't speak English as a first language, because then it must be harder for them to convey opinions in English, but for the others, what's their excuse? I just don't understand why we have not only overusers of opinions, but also people who can't even properly share an opinion but still share it anyways despite the fact that nobody will be able to know what they're trying to say at all, which makes the opinion something that shouldn't be shared in the first place, and if you cannot explain an opinion properly or make it understandable, then leave it out of the video. I don't want to have a brain fart trying to understand the why part of the opinion because you left me confused as to what you meant to say. You thought you were getting a point across. Nah, because the only thing you're getting across is your lack of ability to make sense. The next K-pop thought is that, I've already talked about how people say that armies are more toxic than blinks and vice versa, and saying that both are equally as toxic as the other. No fandom can be more toxic than the other, and no fandom can be the most toxic. Every toxic fandom has done something toxic and no toxicity is more or less. It's like if two idols are exposed for being bad people, are you gonna say that X idol is worse than X idol, because the bad thing they did is worse than the other? Well, I wouldn't think so, and I say they're both equally as bad of a person unless it's two things that are incomparable to each other like murder and theft, because murder loses one's life, and while theft though having chances of losing your life, it's more of losing things because theft can be done to you when you don't have things on hand and you could have a house robbery or robbery of your store, even when you're not there at the location of the robbery. Either way, the toxic things that certain fandoms do are not more or less controversial than other fandoms since both fandoms have done toxic things which makes both fandoms toxic period. Just because one fandom's toxicity is less compared to another fandom doesn't make it a good thing because at the day they're toxic regardless of their amount of toxicity. The next K-pop thought is that, I saw an unpopular K-pop opinions short that was saying some extreme opinions but the whole short ended up being just a joke. I did not like the opinions they made, but once they said it was a joke, that made me more annoyed than the actual opinions themselves, if they turned out to be serious takes, because similarly to my previous K-pop thoughts video where I talked about people saying, idols are pretty in their own way, instead of actually giving their own honest thoughts on beauty without hating on looks, this is the same way that I think as well. People don't have any actual good and original takes to say anymore because of the trend of the overusage of opinions, apart from 2 to 3 rare channels, and when people do actually have takes that are not clickbaity as the title, it ends up completely hateful and crossing the line, or hateful but the creator is just joking. Is it too much to ask for actual honest good takes that are not just as mid, boring, lazy and repetitive as NewJeans' super shy or Cat's Eyes Touch? Why do we live in the current era of K-tube where actually spicy takes or harsh takes are just straight up hate and not brutally honest K-pop opinions? Why are we thinking our opinions can get us cancelled or hated on when all we do is talk about a song being mid, or some lukewarm take that would get nobody riled up with anger to wanna cancel you? I'm just honestly sad at how it's easier to spot view-mongering channels than people who are actually trying to say something worth people's while. The next K-pop thought is that, I saw this K-pop opinion that said and I quote, idols should be allowed more creative freedom, and they explained further about wanting idols to explore ideas more because they're talented, but I don't think idols should get creative freedom, because even if idols had the creativity and talent to do so, they might not be able to execute the idea in a way that works, and it could lead the song's concept to come out poorly or badly. Yes, there are definitely idols who'll do a good job in execution, but not everyone can do it even if they have a good idea in mind, because having a good idea is one thing, but executing it is another thing, and trying to get this idea to work even with a K-pop company rich enough to back the idea, it could be a failed idea that needs more work. You can have an idea, but the idea is just fiction until you make it into reality. Making ideas into reality is a hard task to do if you don't know how to do it, and so idols having great ideas doesn't always mean it will lead to great execution, since ideas can sound good on paper but executing might show that the idea is hard to implement, or maybe the idea was good on paper but reality-wise it's not really that great and should be scrapped. Some idols are better off not having creative freedom, and it's just better that way in case they embarrass themselves with releasing something that would get clowned on. The next K-pop thought is that people are bothered by minors, and it's rightfully so to be bothered, but if y'all don't like minors in K-pop, then why not boycott them? Like boycott groups like Mio, Baby Monster and IVE etc. amongst others, and stop talking about them in your videos. If y'all hate minors in K-pop, then just stop listening to them, their music, their albums, giving them attention by bringing them up, watching their live performances, and giving them views, and focus on the adults that are existing in the industry. Because I don't think just talking about how you guys don't like minors is gonna help much, and you can go one step ahead to boycott these groups simply for them having minors in them. You cannot say you hate minors debuting, if you're a K-tuber who's probably making playlist videos with groups that have minors in them. Just leave them out of the videos and find more other artists to add instead. The next K-pop thought is that, when idols are called over dancers or groups are called overrated as an example, and K-tubers K-pop shorts say in their opinions videos about how they're not and try to defend them, do you defend them because you actually mean it? Or do you defend them because you're too scared to be honest and admit the truth, because what if it's true what people say about the idol or group? What if you believe it's true as well, but you're too scared to say it simply because they might be your faves, and you wanna defend your faves for everything? I don't understand when people come to the defense of someone in their opinions videos and shorts, because you don't have to come to everyone's defense and you could just accept the reality that it is true, and not try to defend an idol or group with reasonings when there's nothing that could justify your defense for them to be valid. The next K-pop thought is that, I think unpopular K-pop opinions need a rebrand to, my overrated opinions, because y'all don't seem to care about the opinions part of the video at all anymore, and only seem to care about how much engagement it will get, how much views it'll get, caring about titling the video a certain way so it reaches people and they get intrigued by the clickbaity title only to be let down, but you don't care as long as you get views. You guys talk about X group being overrated, but the real overrated ones are you guys with your lack of quality, pumping out same opinions like Blackpink's formulaic sound of DDU do 2.0s again and again. A rebrand would be great because at least changing the name to something more fitting would allow you guys to freely do your opinions videos and without you saying they're unpopular when they're not, and we can also know that you're not a channel worth watching. And while there are K-tubers being different, they're not enough to help bring originality with opinions videos and shorts back. The minority of good opinions cannot overtake the majority of bad quality lacking ones. That's why I suggest we should rebrand unpopular K-pop opinions, because it has lost its meaning amongst 99.9% of K-pop channels. The next K-pop thought is that, sharing my thoughts on an overused opinion where people make opinions about, Lisa isn't the best dancer in 3rd Gen, and I will of course agree to this. 3rd Gen started in 2012 to 2017, which is what I believe from seeing sources and researching, and do you know how many groups debut each year? And out of those groups how many are dance pop K-pop groups? There are lots of popular, semi-popular, unpopular and nugu groups that come into K-pop each year, so who's to say that some idols from these groups are secretly a dancing machine when they probably aren't trained to their full potential or are being restricted by the type of music that they do, which doesn't allow the idol to fully showcase their dance abilities. Lisa can dance, but she can't be the best dancer in the 3rd generation given how many idols have existed in the 3rd generation who can and most definitely do dance better than her, which include ones after her debut into K-pop and ones before her debut into K-pop. She can never be the best simply because of the amount of third-generation idols existing where there's definitely someone who can outshine her in a dance competition. The next K-pop thought is that, even though people hating on fourth-gen boy groups in their opinions videos and things wasn't justified and they were just being toxic haters of boy groups to uplift their girl groups, never actually wanting to search for the diverse boy group music. Excluding the pure hatred, I see an argument that could be made about boy groups doing only dark and noise music, and now it has started to annoy me too, despite me knowing full well that diversity exists amongst male groups. Boy groups doing dark and noise music, as I've said before, doesn't suit all boy groups and not everyone will fit that sound, and it's true because looking at an example of Daychild, they debuted with Illumination, which is a fun, upbeat, cute song. But then they came back with stunning, a darker, edgier sound.
Face to face, I'm stunning. 어떻게 벗어나야 할지. You're special, 내게 위험해.
To me, Illumination worked better for them because they were more energetic and lively in the song, but for Stunning they lacked the energy that makes a dark, edgy song work. In my opinion, it's easier to be happier, cute, smiley, cheery in music than it is to be batty, dark, edgy, and that's why not every boy group will pull it off. So, I can see in a way K-pop stans, despite it being pure hate, not liking the fact that they saw boy groups doing one sound because of how it never worked for all the boy groups, and so K-pop stans didn't like what they saw because of how bad and awkward it was, which led them to constantly hate them, and give more of a reason to hate BGS because of how bad it was. IDK. The next K-pop thought is that, when people make unpopular K-pop opinions, and they title their videos about how they'll get cancelled or hated with their opinion, or that their opinions are controversial, but when they go to give the actual opinions they're mild and bland for the most part, yes, but for channels who actually seem like they're being controversial in their takes, why are their takes so sugar-coated? Being controversial or giving harsh opinions involves you giving opinions meant to be actually harsh and controversial but also raw and honest. You being harsh and controversial in a sugar-coated way doesn't do anything, because if you wanna be real, then be real. Stop trying to make yourself come off as controversial when you're hiding your full controversial self. I'm not saying to spread full-on hate, but just be honest. Like for example trying to be controversial and harsh, but saying, K-pop ballads aren't very good, that's just something mildly sugar-coated of an opinion that could be phrased better to become a more controversial take. Saying, K-pop ballads are boring because these idols don't know how to convey the emotions of a ballad song and sound dead and lifeless when singing these songs, and most groups should just leave the ballads to the actual ballad artists who can make the song more listenable instead of these idols making ballads and they just sound monotone and it goes nowhere. Now that sounds better and you're getting more closer to a controversial take. The phrasing matters, and you cannot just say that your opinions are controversial, harsh and/or will get you cancelled, or even calling your opinions brutally honest, when we know they're not at all any of those things, because it looks like you're being harsh, controversial, but in an extremely nice way, and at that point you should just change the title to, My K-pop Opinions, because it's better than putting some outrageous title but you don't do what the outrageous title says. You just seem like someone who wants to be controversial, but feels like it's wrong to do, and you might even want to apologize after too lol. The next K-pop thought is that, I watched this opinions short that said things about how K-pop has lost its touch, fans compete with who is the better idol, songs are low-key boring, there's drama every week, and fans need psychological help. I was watching this and thinking that there are K-pop stans who have similar issues with fans, the music, the drama and other things etc., but in my opinion I feel like you shouldn't have to worry about these things. Be a K-pop stan true to you. Why are you so bothered about K-pop stans competing on who are better idols? Just stan idols that you wanna stan and focus on your own self as a K-pop stan, and with the music, why not find the music that you'd like? People say K-pop is getting boring, and I've said many times how you can find more music and check them out, since many songs release, but I don't think I've mentioned about finding music that you'd like. K-pop is a big industry with so many artists debuting left and right, and you can explore more. Being limited in the artists that you stan is obviously gonna make K-pop boring for you. Because people who are listening to a variety of different artists. I don't think they have this sort of problem. I know I don't, since I'm always checking out new releases and have never found K-pop boring at all. And seeing more of K-pop than what's at the surface level definitely can help you see that K-pop is not boring at all, since K-pop is too big of an industry with music releasing every day, month, year, and in different genres too, and your limitations in music makes K-pop boring, and not K-pop itself. And with the drama part, you can just try to pay no attention to them, even though I know it's hard because so many people are reporting on it. In the end, K-pop could be losing its touch, but to you, you can make it not lose its touch by being your own kind of K-pop stan, finding enjoyment in K-pop instead of nitpicking these things. You should just do what you wanna do with K-pop instead of focusing on others, unless they say something that you genuinely think is dumb, bad, or misinformation or something, then feel free to say what you want. K-pop doesn't have to be whatever you see around you, and should be focused more on how you as a K-pop stan experience K-pop. You should be focused on yourself. The next K-pop thought is that K-pop stans take terms like harsh, juicy, spicy, controversial, brutally honest, etc. in their opinions videos title too lightly. I've already talked about many times before of K-tubers labeling their opinions videos with such words only to deliver lukewarm takes that only childish and immature K-pop stans are gonna get offended by, because you're not gonna ruffle up feathers with titling your opinions as my harsh unpopular K-pop opinions that will get me cancelled, but the takes you give are Jisoo's earthquake is mid. Like, come on guys, why do you take these terms so lightly? What's the point in doing this when you can't provide? Y'all make these, my controversial opinions, labeled videos only to talk about a song being mid, boring and missing something, but y'all don't realize that y'all are exactly like the mid and boring song. It's like a song release y'all get too hyped for only for it to fall flat because it's boring and missing things. It's the same with y'all titling these videos as controversial and such only to miss hitting the actual controversial mark. If I were to put y'all on a K-pop opinions video iceberg, most if not all of y'all would be on the top part of the iceberg that floats above the surface. You guys don't have what it takes to make actual juicy and shocking opinions for y'all to be lower and to be underwater on that iceberg, so y'all should just stop. You guys talk so much about how things should leave K-pop is getting boring, about how certain songs are mid, and it just made me realize that everything y'all talk about in your opinions video about K-pop matches exactly with what opinions videos are now. The last K-pop thought is that, okay, time to share my own thoughts on the overused opinion about visuals mattering in K-pop, and I think it definitely does matter in K-pop, because K-pop stans care so much about your looks, and they don't only stan you because you're possibly talented or make good music. K-pop stans hate on you if you're ugly, and I've seen this before with the Nugu group WAO, who I found out through their MV comment section that they were getting called ugly, and also with the Nugu girl group Elfin, who were in the same boat with the ugly comments, and I think that's why they privated most of their videos and socials and stuff because of it. People care about visuals so much in K-pop, it's scary. K-pop stans are toxic and brutal when it comes to hate, and to them if you look a certain way, you're seen as beautiful and or ugly, and that always makes me wonder about what is beautiful and ugly in K-pop stans' eyes, since people have preferences in what they find attractive and unattractive. Plus, them hating is just them being toxic, since if they actually had preferences they would be respectful about it and not just full on sending hate to someone they don't know and shouldn't care about in terms of looks, because why do you care so much about a person you don't know? You guys seem way too focused on looks. If visuals do matter in K-pop, should be seen as a true fact. K-pop is a music industry, and focusing so much on looks unless it's about in terms of genuine concern, if they're doing something to change their look and it's harming them, shouldn't matter. Just enjoy the music and stop looking at beauty so negatively when hate like this affects others and also affects their mental health. You're not doing anything great by sending hate to an idol just because you don't find them attractive. The only thing you're doing is trying to make the idol know about your hate so they can feel bad about themselves and feel insecure about their looks and think they're not good enough. You're making them feel horrible in their own skin because of your ugly comments, and you don't realize it, because you're toxic and you just don't care.